Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on Lunchtime News. Well, we have so much in store for you. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. Now, to kick us off, President William Ruto is in San Francisco for an investment meeting with top tech companies in the U.S. During his visit, the head of state will meet the leadership from Apple, Intel, Microsoft, Google, among others, in a bid to have them invest in Kenya as a technology hub. The visit aims to enhance investment opportunities and trade relations with the U.S. President Ruto is also set to be in New York City, where he will attend the 78th United Nations General Assembly session. The global gathering will assess progress towards the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals and address critical global challenges such as the climate crisis and debt concerns in the global south. In other news, Nairobi County has dispatched 3,500 new recruits to assist in the clearing of the city in the anticipation of the El Nino rains. The plans include the hiring of 3,500 youths to join the Green Nairobi team and will be tasked with daily cleaning in the city and clogging and cleaning of drainages and garbage collection, among other activities.
2,500 of the recruits joined the Governor and Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Housing and Public Works, Zakaria Njeru, whereas 1,000 youths will be recruited to a total of 3,500 Green Nairobi Army. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja says the county put forward banked plans to avert the hazardous impacts likely to be posed by the above-average rain leading to floods. He added that the timely unclogging of the drainage systems will allow a steady flow of water to avoid blockages and lower risks of flooding.
We have mapped out the hotspots for Nairobi County and the disaster hotspots, ambapo we know we'll have a challenge during El Nino. We're going to publish that in the newspapers and in the media for the people of Nairobi to know the areas that need to be avoided.
To harmonize the flood mitigation plans between the Nairobi City County Government, National Water and Sewer Company, Kenha, Kura, and the State Department of Housing and Urban Development in order to limit damages to our people, their property, and daily living conditions.
He also ordered the demolition of illegal structures established along riparian lands.
The Building Inspectorate to conduct a survey of unsafe buildings in Nairobi. We have received the report, and one of the actions we'll take in some of those buildings that cannot be brought back to standard, the ones that are irreparably, structurally in default, we will have to move people.
Sakaja also flagged off 50 trucks, 6 fire engines, 7 flashing units, 5 ambulances, 10 excavators, 5 exhausters, and 2 fully fledged mobile workshops for emergencies as mitigation measures to aid in combating the El Nino rains. For Lunchtime News, I am Kasichana Masha.
Siaya and Busia counties are working on a common strategy to combat the effects of the projected El Nino rains. As part of the strategy, the top leadership of the 2 devolved units, James Orengo and Dr. Paul Utuoma, met in Siaya to review the infrastructure and any shortcomings that could expose the public to the vagaries of weather. The 2 county governments have committed to forming a joint technical committee to ensure the protection and conservation of Yala Swamp and its resources.
With El Nino, with what you have seen happening in other countries, you saw what happened in Libya. Almost, I hear, death toll is going to 10,000 people. We don't want to be caught with our foot off guard. So our 2 disaster teams from Busia and Siaya have also been meeting to see how we are going to mitigate on El Nino floods, especially where we are affected a lot because of River Yala and River Nzoia. This is our shared ecosystem. In addition to that, as I said, we'll continue to cooperate more because we are all under the Lake Region Economic Bloc.
We also discussed the issue of Yala Delta, if I may use that language. It is a jewel that we share as the two counties of Busia and Siaya. And when it comes to the land use plan for the Yala Delta, if I use that language, Busia is ahead of us. The land use plan for that Delta was prepared together, the two counties. And Busia has been able to pass it through the County Executive Committee and even pass it to the National Assembly.
David Mwangi Wanderi has been elected as the chairman of Embakasi Ranching Company, toppling his opponent, Fidelis Wangari. Wanderi, who garnered 7 votes against his rival, who managed 4 votes, takes over from the late James Njoroge, who passed on while in office. Head of the company's annual general meeting scheduled on the 29th of this month at Rai Mohori Mosheri Stadium.
La mwisho, hii ni mwanzo mpya na hii ni mwanzo tutakayeanza wa kumaliza shida zote za Embakasi. Wale wote wako na shida za Embakasi sasa wajue hii ndio wakati wao wa kupata haki yao. Na kampuni yetu itaanza kupeana mashamba kwa wanahiza wetu. Hatutarudi nyuma. Chairman alikuwa kila wakati akiongea watu wapewe haki yao. Na hiyo ndio nitaweka kipaumbele na mwongozo wa kuendesha kampuni kwa kutengeneza maisha mazuri ya wakaaji wa Luai wale walikata hisa za Embakasi Ranching.
Chairman amepatikana, amepewa vyombo vyake pamoja na sili ya kampuni ya kutekeleza kazi yake. Kwa hivyo inageuka, stakabadhi hizi zinakuwa ni za muhimu sana na ambazo zitakuwa zinatumika hata kisheria katika mikakati na katika shughuli za kampuni ya Embakasi Ranching Company.
A retired chief in Gatundu, Kiambu County has been arrested on suspicion of defrauding the public. The former chief is accused of running an illegal advocate's office. She was apprehended during a joint operation by the Office of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation and Law Society of Kenya officials. A chief's stamp was also recovered from her office, among other official documents, despite having retired from service 2 years ago.
The retired female chief was arrested in Gatundu, Kiambu County, where she was operating an illegal advocate's office and collecting money from the public under the pretense of providing judicial services. During the joint operation between officers from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and members of the Law Society of Kenya, they recovered land sale agreements, title deeds, and succession agreements, among other documents.
In Gatundu and the Kiambu County at large have no otherwise than to succumb to her authority. This is an act which we condemn in the strongest terms, and we are going to follow up this particular case up to its logical conclusion.
Ni jambo ambalo kamwe hata chairman wetu amekataa, na tutazidi pia kutafuta hawa watu, na lazima tuambie wananchi ukweli kwamba hao watu bandia hatuwataki kwa society.
The retired administrator was also found with the current chief stamp despite being out of office 2 years ago.
Mihuri tumepata hapo ambazo zingine ni za wakili za kucommission document na zingine pia ni za machief na moja ni yake akiwa chief. So unashangaa sana mtu ambaye aliretire more than 2 years ago anafanya nini na stamp yake na anaitumia kutengeneza documents na kupigia watu hizo documents akifile succession matters.
She will be arraigned in court even as LSK officials promise to conduct similar operations regularly.
Waweze kuwa vigilant. Ukienda mahali ambao unatafuta kazi kwa wakili, uliza anaitwa nani, confirm jina yake kwa leseni yake, ingia online kwa Google kwa simu yako, ama uombe akuonyeshe kadi yake ya LSK.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
And now on scales of justice, Kiambu Court has granted the Directorate of Criminal Investigations permission to detain a land fraud suspect for 2 days to allow them to conclude their investigations and prefer charges against him. Kiambu's Senior Principal Magistrate Manuela Kenyanjuri ordered the suspect, Jeffrey Kiragu, to be detained at the Kiambu police station and await for the mention of the case on Monday, 18th September.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations had filed a miscellaneous application to have the court grant the officers 10 days to complete their investigations into the Lesedi Developers Limited Managing Director's 3 billion shillings fraud case. Geoffrey Kiragu is accused of obtaining by false pretense the money from 500 victims purporting to sell them different parcels of land across the country.
Mtu ile ametunyang'anya pesa, amepatikana na tuko hapa na tumefurahia kwa ile mambo imetendeka.
Tumegonjeka zaidi, ulcers ndio hizo, vichwa ndio hizo, migraines. Wengine wetu tuko hospitalized na unfortunately some of us kuna kesi ya ambaye alijinyonga.
The State Prosecution Council, led by Deputy ODPP Augustine Gisharia and Lindsay Mugambi, told the court that the suspect had failed to cooperate with DCI officers, prompting his arrest. The prosecution asked the court to object to prayers by the defense counsel to have the suspect released on anticipatory bail issued on 2nd May, barring DCI officers from arresting him.
In the interest of justice, I'll grant police only 2 days to complete the investigations and prefer necessary charges. So we shall have the suspect, detained at Kiambu police station, and we will mention on Monday, that is the 18th.
Michael Mondiga for Lunchtime News.
Effective Friday, pump prices crossed the 200 shillings mark for the first time in Kenya's history. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority reviewed fuel prices, seeing a litre of super petrol increased by 19 shillings and 96 cents. Diesel went up by 21 shillings and 32 cents, while kerosene increased by 33 shillings and 13 cents.
Kenyans on Friday morning woke up to new fuel prices after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, increased fuel prices by more than 20 shillings. It is the first time in Kenya's history that pump prices moved past the 200 shillings mark. Super petrol went up by 19 shillings and 96 cents. Diesel up by 21 shillings and 32 cents. Rural households were the hardest hit after kerosene increased by 33 shillings and 13 cents. EPRA pointed at increased landed costs, with super petrol increasing by 4.8%, diesel 12.52%, and kerosene increased by 12.79%. The prices are inclusive of the 16% VAT, in line with the provisions of the Finance Act 2023. In Nairobi, super petrol will be retailing at 211 shillings and 64 cents, diesel 200 shillings and 99 cents, and kerosene 202 shillings and 61 cents for the next 1 month. The move has drawn a lot of criticism from Kenyans, who will have to dig deeper into their pockets to afford basic commodities at a time they are still dealing with the high cost of living and inflationary pressures. Following the review, public transport operators have announced new fares of between 20 and 30 shillings. Motorists in Mandera will cough out 226 shillings for a litre of super petrol, 215 shillings for diesel, and 217 shillings for kerosene. Fuel will be cheapest in Mombasa, as motorists will part with 208 shillings and 58 cents for a litre of super petrol, diesel 198 shillings, and kerosene will be retailing at 200 shillings. According to the statement by EPRA, the government did not tap the subsidy from the Petroleum Development Levy that had been in effect for the last 2 months. Wadi Mojenga for Lunchtime News.
Now, the two arms of the Kajiado County government have decided to bury the hatchet and work together to initiate people-oriented development projects. In a forum that brought together the executive led by Governor Joseph Olelenku and the legislators under the leadership of the Assembly Speaker Justice Ngosor, the team agreed to forge a unity of purpose for the benefit of the electorate. Now, Governor Olelenku said the unity is anchored on the residents' need in an attempt to improve their lives through modulated herding and habitable towns, among other projects. Ngosor said the unity between the executive and the assembly will ensure Kajiado residents reap benefit from the county government in the next 4 years.
Maana sisi tuache nyuma ama kaunti ya Kajiado, na ndio kama assembly na executive tumekuja pamoja kuangalia na kusungumzia ono la kuboresha maisha ya wanakajiado kupitia ufugaji wa kisasa, kupitia mambo ya mazingira yetu, kupitia mambo ya kubadilika kwa hali ya anga na towns zetu kuboreshwa ndio watu wengi waweze kuishi katika towns.
Tukubaliana kwa mambo mengi jinsi ambazo tutasaidia watu wetu wa Kajiado kwa mambo ya kutimiza ndoto yetu ama lengo yetu kama kaunti. Kwanza tumekubaliana kwa njia ya kufanya mambo ya kusaidia wakulima wetu, wale ambao wanafuga ng'ombe, wale ambao wanafuga pia chakula kwa sehemu ambayo tunaweza lima.
In other news, Embu Fire Department is on the spot over alleged negligence following a fire outbreak that razed down 30 houses in Majimbo village, Embu County last evening. Angry residents claimed the fire station is 300 meters from the location of the houses that were reduced to ashes. Embu West Sub-County Police Commander Julius Kiumbure, in a phone interview, said that no one was injured, adding that police have launched investigations to establish the cause of the fire. Well wishes to come to the aid of the families affected by the disaster.
Nilipata moto inaendelea kuchoma, mimi nikaanza kuokoa yenye ilikuwa karibu. Ndipo vijana walikunja wakaanza kuokoa, kijana mmoja wa nduthi ndiye alipigia zimamoto simu. Wakaanza kusema hawana maji, wakaambiwa wakimbia wakunje.
Sasa hata watu hawajui kama wazazi kuna mtu hata akona mtoto wa 2 weeks. Huyo mtoto ako nje. Na wao wako kwa manyumba mazuri. Mama boga ndiye huyo anateseka. Hiyo ni mbaya sana. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba kesho mkuje hapa kama nyinyi mnatupenda ili tusaidie hawa watu. Hakuna mtu akona nguo isipokuwa ile alikuwa nayo.
Pia wenye nyumba ninaomba pia kukue wale wamefanya installation ya stima wakuwe wanafanya tena review ya stima baada ya muda kidogo, kwa sababu waya zinachomekanga, waya zinazeeka. Ni vizuri pia tufanye evaluation, na pia ukitoka kwa nyumba ni vizuri ukue makini, utoke ukiwa umehakikisha kwamba ngasi yako umezima ama chochote ambacho kinaweza sababisha mkasa umeweza kuchunga.
And now we cross over to the University of Eldoret, where the institution is holding an agribusiness trade fair aiming to provide a platform for sector players to showcase various agricultural technologies and innovation for sustainable development. Well, now we join our reporter, Wycliffe Okech, for an updated report. Wycliffe?
Well, thank you so much, Jackie Wambiru, back in Nairobi. Like you've rightly put it, we are coming to you live from Eldoret. Specifically, this is the University of Eldoret, where right now, as you can see behind me, there are so many booths, and that explains the event of the day. That is agribusiness trade fair that is has been organized by the University of Eldoret, just under the theme promoting climate smart and agripreneurship and validation, all in a bid to promote validation as for sustainable development. Without further ado, Wambiru, I would like to bring on set Esther Nganga, that is in charge of corporate affairs at the University of Eldoret, just simply to tell us what has necessitated this kind of trade fair and who are part of the audience here. Esther, if you can just basically move here. We are seeing so many booths. The main pavilion has been prepared here. We understand that the CS for Trade Trade, that is Moses Kuria, is going to be the guest of honor for this particular day. Tell us who are part of the audience here and what has necessitated this kind of trade fair organized by the University of Eldoret.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. We organize this agri-business trade fair annually. This is actually the 16th one. So every year we bring together the people you're seeing around here, the sponsors and the exhibitors, so that they are able to teach the community around and the farmers that come to visit this place the new technologies that are in the agribusiness sector. So we actually bring together many farmers. We work with the people down in the community and bring the farmers here. So they're the ones who are actually walking around, learning from the different companies. We want to appreciate all our sponsors, started with the National Bank of Kenya. They have helped us to put this event together with the management and the Council of University of Eldoret. So basically we invite Kenyans and especially those around Uasin Gishu to University of Eldoret and learn the rich knowledge that is being disseminated here by these companies in the areas of animal production, crop production, and even how to do business by value addition of the raw products that we get from our farm. Thank you.
And for the students here, how is this going to impact on them?
The students, University of Eldoret, one of the main courses that we offer here is agriculture. So this is an environment for them to learn. It's also an opportunity for them to come up with ideas. And as a school, as a university, we're also exhibiting. So we have some of the exhibitions being displayed by the students. So they see and then they're able also to come up with the ideas and they'll be able to exhibit them in the next one. And already some are exhibiting them.
Thank you so much. Wambiru, that is Esther Nganga, that is in charge of corporate affairs here at the University of Eldoret, just giving us the snapshot of exactly what is happening here. Like you've understood, you've gotten from her, this region is big in terms of agriculture, and you of course know that agriculture is of course the backbone of the country's economy, and there is need for sustainable development through value addition, through climate smart agriculture, and that is all that is being displayed here. Well, we'll be walking through different stands just to see some of the pieces of innovation that are being displayed here, and of course we are waiting for the guest of the day, that is CS for Trade Moses Kuria. Also will be keen on the remarks from him, and of course we will update our viewers later on in our subsequent bulletins. For now, back to you, Wambiru, for the continued coverage of the bulletin.
Well, thank you so much, Wycliffe Okech there from the University of Eldoret with the latest from the agribusiness trade fair that is currently underway. Shall be keeping you up to date. For now, we move on where Cheptalal OCS Leonard Chair is on the spot after he allegedly failed to enforce a court order stopping the burial of one Elijah Melgo in Konoin Sub-County, Bomet County. Now, Sotik Court has issued orders stopping the burial over a 100-acre land dispute pending hearing and determination. Advocate Gideon Koech, who represented the petitioners, said court orders were issued to stop the burial, but were shocked to learn that the body was buried on Thursday despite the court injunction.
issue that we have here is with the OCS, that is the Cheptalal police station, and this is among the issues that we've been having with that particular office, where we serve court orders and they are not being respected.
Court order yenye ilitoa ni moja, mwili isisikwe wala isitolewe mochwari. So tunauliza serikali, kama sasa kweli kabisa order imeenda kwa OCS na amecheza karata, tutakimbilia nani Kenya?
Well, and on that note, we take a short break right here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far, we still have more news coming up.
Akawa na yeye kufika, yeye kuona mguu ya kuku anazima.
Unamaanisha nini anazima?
Mbona huku goja ni kusutu kufe ndio kujo wewe ulipo. Kuna wakati ulijaribu kunitoa, tunajifanya unanitoa kitu hapa kwa mdomo, kumbe unataka kubusu mimi.
Ya hudu bilai mimi.
Makoa, kuna mtu amekuja na mwindisha ama mbora ambe mangondo.
Wewe ongea lugha ya taifa.
Namwambia atoe pesa, ananitolea mkuu ya nini? Ya kuku. Nikasema si kuku na mimi Mluya, si tuende tukule. Umeendesha mahakama na ulianguka chini.
Yes, I fainted.
I died.
Yes.
Na umesahau kueleza ulienda haja ndogo.
Of course I went. Oh, by the way, mheshimiwa, nikiamuka hivi hiyo siku mheshimiwa, hata kama ni wewe na utawahi ona kitu kama hii in your face mheshimiwa, ndio sababu nilifaint.
Na hakuna wakati nilichukua bunduki nikakwambia nitasutu wewe, si ni kweli? Ilikuwa wapi? Juu ya mesa, si ndio?
Action is speaking louder than words, si ndio?
Kirinyaga, hamjambo. Stesheni unayoyenzi ya Shoro FM. Shoro FM. Kwa ushirikiano na Jamii Executive Gardens Mwea, tunakuletea burudani ya kutetemesha Kirinyaga. Ijumaa tarehe 15 Septemba. Burudani hii itaongozwa na Prince of Mugithi, Tony Young. Pamoja na 90K Kamso. Kipindi ukipendacho cha Friday Night Express kitakufikia moja kwa moja kutoka Jamii Executive Gardens na nahodha wake Joy wa Masharia.
Karibuni sana.
Watangazaji wa kituo cha Shoro FM wakiwemo Mwanamwede, DJ Kama na wengineo pia watakuwa. Usikose kufika Jamii Executive Gardens Mwea, tufurahie pamoja tarehe 15 Septemba kuanzia jioni hadi che. Burudani hii ni kwa hisani ya Jamii Pure Pishori Rice. Tupatane Mwea.
Kiswahili
Senjiha. Tumefika kujifunza, kuona, kusema, kuelimika, kupitia na kuhamasika.
Vijana wamepata alama A kuhitimu katika shule ya upili na pia chuo kikuu. Baadaye lakini kwa sababu ya kukosa kazi wanakaa nyumbani kwa miaka 4, miaka 5 bila kazi.
Kama taifa yetu kitazama sahihi, hali ya kisomo inazidi kupanda na kupanda tena sana. Vijana wetu wameelimishwa na kutokana na kisomo ambao wanapata kazi nyingi, tena nyingi sana. Na vijana hawa linalowazuia tu ni uzembe wao, kumaanisha serikali imewatengea nafasi nyingi sana na wana uwezo huo kwani wamesoma.
Bado safari ni ndefu. Wasafiri tusichoke na tusiwe madhaifu.
Ali na Muna, njoo. Geuza sentensi hiyo katika hali ya kutendewa.
Ali na Mula waliambiwa waende.
Kufikia hapo sina hili wala lile wala nini hino.
Kiswahili kitu.
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, we taste taita kimanga, steamed rice and chicken adobo, courtesy of our guest cook Dominic.
Chumvi, we don't put chumvi because there is this is our cooking stick.
Okay.
Now we use
I don't take all.
Just one piece.
Why? So you were cooking for me?
For the rest.
No, but you were cooking for me. You are not cooking for the rest. Achana na the rest. Our cook.
Welcome back. This is Lunchtime News. A Mombasa court is expected to make a ruling on Monday following an application by the DCI to detain 2 suspects linked to a drug syndicate. The duo are believed to be part of a gang who were who were ferrying a consignment of bang valued at 9.5 million shillings packaged in gunny bags. The consignment was recovered in an abandoned vehicle along the Kaloleni-Mavueni route. It is reported the culprits were ferrying the bang when their vehicle had a tire burst and landed in a ditch. They allegedly escaped the scene before being nabbed at a homestead in Majengo, Kilifi County. The prosecution wants the courts to detain them for 3 weeks to allow them to complete investigations and amend the charge sheet. Senior Principal Magistrate Yusuf Shikanda will issue a ruling on Monday.
There was a charge sheet produced before this honorable court which needed amending, and based on the facts of the charge sheet, Your Honor, none of these issues have been stated. Your Honor, so as it stands, that information remains to be allegations, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, the investigating officers are in actual or physical possession of all their credentials, all their mobile phones, including, Your Honor, their national identity cards.
So they'll remain at Mtwapa police station until then, and I expect that we'll take plea on that day. Jumatatu Mungu akipenda, koti itatoa uamuzi.
The Kenya National Highway Authority now says it will implement the East Africa Community Vehicle Load Control Act to protect roads from overloaded trucks. The KENHA official said lorries that are overloaded by more than 20 tons will attract a fine of 5 million shillings under the East African Community Load Control Regulations. According to KENHA, this is part of the ongoing commitment to enhancing road safety, preserving road quality, and promoting efficient transportation system within the region.
Inategemea na ile uzito unabeba na ile barabara unatumia. Kuna barabara ambayo tuna classify as the main artery roads. Kuna hizi ma A1, A4 nini. Those ones fall under the category of the East African Act. So kwenye hizo mafine, hizo zina, once gari imepimwa mahali kwa weighbridge, inachajiwa in US dollars. Because tumejaribu kuungana na wenzetu wa Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, tukue na sheria moja. So that one we used what is called the East Africa Community Act. And to make it easy, it is charged in dollars. So dereva akishtakiwa, ile risiti yake itatoka kwenye dollars. Lakini itabadilishwa kwenye pesa ya Kenya at the rate of the current time. Na utapata dereva ama mwenye gari ambayo gari yake imeshtakiwa anapinga ile sheria. Anasema yeye hakuamini gari yake iko na ile uzito ama nini. So watu kama hao kuna ruhusa ya kuenda kotini.
Laikipia County Government has initiated a water drilling project to help tackle the persistent water shortage in the region. Laikipia Governor Joshua Irongo, while launching the water project, said they will sink at least 2 boreholes per ward in the next 4 years. The water will be distributed to homes, schools and hospitals at cheaper rates. Local residents applauded the move by the county government, saying it will save them time from traveling in search of water.
Tangu tuwekeo hii maji ile tanki tumefurahi na kuja kwa wiki mara 2. Na saidi tulileteo niko na kashamba kidogo garden ya kitchen. Sasa nimelima tutugu tusukuma.
Wametusaidia sana kutufikishia maji ambaye bila kila mtu katika kijiji hiki ni shida ya maji. Na saa hii tunaona kama shida yetu ya maji imeisha.
Na tutashiba boreholes 3 katika Tigidi ward, na alafu tutaenda ward zile zingine tunashiba 2. Hiyo ndio itakuwa stage ya kwanza. Alafu tunaenda wakati mwingine tunaanza zingine 2 hivyo. Tutakuwa tumeshiba boreholes 300 boreholes kwa sababu kila mwaka tutakuwa tunashiba boreholes 100. Na si kushiba peke yake, ni kushiba na kuweka equipment na kuweka solar na kuweka matagi juu na kupelekea wananchi hiyo maji waweze kuwa karibu na wao.
And now we take a look at matters of business, and Kenya is facing stiff competition from regional players in petroleum storage and distribution. Energy players are being challenged to enhance their service delivery to ward off competition.
Tariff barriers have at times hindered the full uptake of products to markets in Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and the DRC. We therefore commit continuously to work closely with KBC and other agencies to eliminate these barriers as we enhance ease of doing business in the East Africa community. On the sunnier side of things,
Cabinet approval of a share transfer of Kenya Petroleum Refineries to KBC is a testament to this commitment. This will foster synergy in the petroleum value chain, increase KBC storage facility, enable execution of the planned capacity enhancement of the pipeline system, and manage petroleum and petroleum products price hikes.
The Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya is seeking collaboration with county governments with a view to professionalize financial resources management in the devolved units. The institute is also calling on county governments to appoint professionals in key economic and revenue departments to ensure taxpayers' money is prudently spent.
Several counties, including Kisumu, Samburu, and Kisii, have entered into a collaboration with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya to professionalize public financial management. ICPAK Council member FCPA Georgina Malombe says devolution remains a key anchor of bringing development closer to the people and is crucial to have in place proper accountability structures to see loopholes of revenue laws.
We engage a lot in terms of budgeting, financial management, and educating them on PFM matters. So I think the greatest milestone that we've seen with counties is that embracing of professionalism, and we've seen the revenue departments, the various key departments in finance and economic planning be led now by professionals.
Speaking in Embu after meeting with Deputy Governor Kenyo Mogo and Assembly Speaker Josiah Dhiriku, Malombe said there was a lot of ground to be covered to enhance accountability.
Today's world is about collaboration, and some of the areas he's talked about is embracing professionalism, even as we continue discharging the mandate of public accountability.
Mugo welcomed the partnership, saying embracing professionalism in public financial management will greatly enhance service delivery.
Tumesikizana kama sa accountant wote ambao wako hapa Embu lazima pia wakuwe registered ndio wakuwe katika hiyo professional body. Na kama tuna task force ambayo tutakuwa tunatengeneza hapa moving forward, we shall be involving them. Na ile committee yote ambayo inaguzana na maneno ya pesa tutakuwa pia tunawahusisha.
Edna Murungi reporting for Lunchtime News.
And now we proceed to the interview segment where we shall be deliberating matters regarding tackling e-waste. Remember, the UN's Global E-Waste Monitor shows that in 2019, the world generated 53.6 million tons of electric waste. This waste comes in many forms, with 31% generated by small electronics such as microwaves, shavers, and cameras. Now, approximately 28% is generated by large electronics such as washing machines and refrigerators, smart devices, smartphones, computers, televisions, lamps, and other devices make up the rest. Now, Kenya generates an average of 3,000 tons of e-waste each year from electronic devices such as computers, monitors, printers, mobile phones, fridges, and batteries, just to mention a few. And now this afternoon, we are joined by William Kamore, who is the training manager at LG Electronics, to help us deliberate tackling e-waste. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So now our first question is, what is the awareness level of the public on e-waste disposal?
I would say, like from the figures you just given, you'd find that in terms of e-waste disposal and recycling, you find that Africa is at 0.1%. If you compare that with the rest of the world, you can see that in Africa we are way behind in terms of what we can be able to be doing to achieve this. So I would say in terms of the public awareness, I don't think many people are familiar with how best to dispose their electronic waste. And I'm sure when you ask most people usually hold their electronics. You'll find someone with a TV, a computer, a microwave, or even as an old mobile phone you still keep in your house, but you don't know where to put it, or you just want to keep it for maybe one day you'll use it. So I would say the public will need more awareness of how best we can be able to tackle e-waste.
So as electronic manufacturers, what role are you playing when it comes to public sensitization on e-waste disposal?
Right. So for manufacturers, I would like to encourage and also ensure that most people will be able to know that let me take, for example, at LG Electronics, we usually give a sustainability report every year that is able to show how much of e-waste or how best one can be able to dispose of the electronics waste. So I'll urge other manufacturers to ensure that whenever they are having or launching new products, they also sensitize the public on what to do with either your old product or any other electronic device that you may be not knowing how best to utilize it.
All right. Now, how can the proper disposal of electronic waste be incentivized? Perhaps trade-ins, cash for trash rather, setting up recycling plans. What is the way forward?
What is the way forward? First, I would like also to commend the government, because they do also offer such services for recycling plants. They do mention where best you can be able to take your product. And I would like to tell the customers or the viewers watching, if you have any LG old appliance which you don't know how best to dispose it, we do have a recycling collection center at our service center. And then also there is also other incentivizes, let's say like if let's say you had a product that developed a fault and you brought it to the service center, and the service center are able to tell you that unfortunately we cannot be able to do this, we do have offers on a replacement product or model that you can be able to be given at a subsidized rate. So we can say we offer some kind of trade-in which you can be able to identify once you visit the service center.
Yeah, all right. Now, the making of electronics is linked to emissions. How are electronic companies revamping their production lines to be environmental friendly?
Okay, so I would say that during the production line, and for what most companies or what most manufacturers maybe might forget is remember that producing an item or producing, it's a circulatory process, meaning that it will have to, you have to think of where to take during when it was manufactured, and then also consider it moving to the consumer, and then also moving from the consumer, once they finish using it, how best can it be able to return to where it was. So I would encourage and also talk about what what even LG Electronics is doing, is trying to increase the number of recycled items that are pushed back into the production line, meaning that even if we are developing new products, first you have to think of the resources you can get from any old recycled products. And that is envisioned with 2030 to have about 20 million tons of recycled materials back into the production line.
Now, aside from recycling, when you take a look at the supply chain, how are electronic manufacturers ensuring that the materials sourced for their products are less harmful to the environment?
Okay, so for the production line, or let's say for the suppliers, one thing I would say is you find that during this time, or ever since the year about 2020 or 2021, LG has been inviting our suppliers who are tier one, who are involved in the supply chain process, to show them how best also on their end they can be able to reduce their carbon emissions, and also how to try and reduce the greenhouse gases in terms of, by the time they get the products, what kinds of equipment or what kinds of transport systems they use to deliver or to supply these products.
Now, in your own view, do you think Kenya is implementing an all-inclusive approach when it comes to tackling carbon emissions?
Carbon emissions, yes. That brings me actually to the just concluded climate forum, which I would say that it was a good initiative to have it here. And I would say during that time, most Kenyans were able to get more information on what climate change is and what exactly is our impact to the society, depending on how we can be able to reduce or tackle our carbon footprints in this society.
Mm-hmm. Well, now a large chunk of global greenhouse gas emissions are linked to private households. How can households reduce emissions?
When it comes to especially the electronics or the appliances that we have in our houses, and it all boils down to how often or are you using these appliances. And most people do not know that even if you have any appliance that you've connected to your power socket and it's not turned off and you just switched off normally, or it's hibernating, it's still consuming energy even though it is not being used, and it is releasing some kinds of carbon. So I would say is the basics that we've always been taught: switch off lights if you're not using them, switch off appliances, disconnect them from power if they are not in use, and also ensure that you don't need lights when windows are open. And also when it comes to electronic appliances, always power them or use them when only in need, I would advise.
Very well. Now, as we come to a close, what are your closing remarks on safe e-waste disposal and carbon emissions?
So my words to the viewers and the customers out there would be: when you're in the market looking for any appliance or any electronics that you want to buy, always try and get facts about this particular product. And also you'll find that most electronic devices, they do offer this kind of stamp behind that you can be able to see and you can be able to advise, and also ensure that you get to learn more and get to research more on how best to dispose your e-waste. And also, if possible, visit the manufacturer, or if it's LG Electronics, you can visit a service center.
All right. And one last question before we close. When it comes to e-waste disposal, how can we bring the youth into this discussion?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's one way that we can be able to do this, because you find that the youth are more vocal in terms of how best they can be able to deal with this, and it means the youth nowadays are more they like consuming a lot of information. So if you can be able to drive this information to them, it will lead future generations to understand the best way to eliminate or the best way to tackle your electronic waste.
All right. Well, there you have it. That was William Kumare, who is the training manager at LG. And now we shall be moving on to other news. Well, thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence right here on Lunchtime News. Now, in other news, automakers should shift their focus to e-mobility as institutions forge public-private partnerships to drive innovations in electric vehicles. Kenya Motor Industry Association Chair Naresh Likia is calling on financial institutions to channel more cash to e-mobility.
Kenya continues making huge strides in the transitioning to e-mobility. The government made commitments by providing incentives and reducing of excess duty on electric vehicles. However, more public-private partnerships need to be fostered to drive innovation in the sector. Kenya Motor Industry Association Chair Naresh Lika says financial institutions should put more emphasis on financing of projects in the e-mobility sector to help Kenya achieve its goals.
Many options available. We have short-term, we have long-term. We also do leasing. We have a leasing offering. So for those who want to, especially for corporates, who want to lease brand new vehicles and perhaps within 4 or 5 years replace them, we have that option available.
Although the sector is still in its infancy, a vibrant e-mobility startup scene has developed, with more startups entering the space in the last few years.
Recent change in taxation to increase import duty on the fully built vehicles. But on the other hand, the government is giving 0% import duty on locally assembled. So it's an effort of the government to encourage more local assembly, growth of local assembly in Kenya. And not only that, with this actually we are trying to create an ecosystem whereby we can make Kenya the hub of motor vehicle assembly in East Africa region.
Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
Migori County has embarked on an ambitious initiative to capture 8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, aiming to counter the adverse impacts of climate change. In collaboration with the county government, Restore Africa, an non-governmental organization, is spearheading this endeavor, which involves planting a remarkable 10 million trees. Director of Restore Africa, Kionga Kimani, has revealed that they have already identified 250,000 households to engage in the pilot phase of the project.
The key thing is to improve the livelihoods of people through agroforestry systems, through climate resilient agriculture or climate smart agriculture, and then the carbon will be an added advantage. It's a 30-year program, but we are just doing the 5 years to lay the foundation for that to happen.
Tree planting is very key in any other seasons that is not a dry season, and also identifying which trees should be planted where, because we have the agroforestry and we have the indigenous trees, we have the fruit trees. All these ones have to be taken care of, and it takes stakeholders and an eagle's eye to work on this and also to improve on the forest cover of Migori.
As a Department of Agriculture, we are deploying our entire staff force to this particular initiative, so that then jointly we work with our farmers to make sure that they get their information, the right information, and they are supported to undertake practices that are in line with climate smart agriculture.
China's factory output and retail sales grew at a faster pace in August, but tumbling investment in the crisis-hit property sector threatens to this growth. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Chinese policymakers are facing a daunting task of trying to revive growth following a brief post-COVID bounce in the wake of persistent weakness in the crucial property industry, a faltering currency and weak global demand for its manufactured goods. Industrial output rose 4.5% in August from a year earlier, accelerating from the 3.7% pace in July. The growth marked the quickest pace since April. Retail sales, a gauge of consumption, also increased at a faster 4.6% in August, aided by the summer travel season, was the quickest growth since May. That compared with a 2.5% increase in July and an unexpected 3% rise. Elsewhere, the European Central Bank raised its key interest rates to a record high of 4%, but with the Eurozone economy in the doldrums, signaled that the hike, its 10th in a 14-month-long fight against inflation, was likely to be its last. The central bank for the 20 countries that share euro also raised its forecast for inflation, which it now expects to come down more slowly towards its 2% target over the next 2 years, while cutting those for economic growth. That illustrated the dilemma European Central Bank policymakers had faced, as prices are still rising at more than twice the target rate, but with high borrowing costs and a downturn in China. Overall economic activity is struggling. Finally, Indonesia's trade surplus soared to twice the forecast amount in August, as imports such as raw materials and capital goods fell more than expected. The surplus for Southeast Asia's biggest economy was $3.12 billion, far above the $1.55 billion median forecast, and up sharply from $1.31 billion in July. Imports fell 14.77% to $18.88 billion, deeper than the 9.33% forecast drop. Crude oil imports sank about 39% from a year earlier. It said that the import drop was influenced by seasonal factors, since the earlier forecast highlighted that imports would rise for the rest of the year due to higher oil prices and an increase in manufacturing. Firdaus Omar for Lunchtime News.
And now on sports news, France overcame a spirited Uruguay to maintain their winning start of the World Cup with a 27-12 victory in Lille. Now this victory moved the hosts to the top of Pool A with 8 points. In the next fixtures, Le Bleu resumes their tour in the country against Namibia in Marseille on 21st September, while Uruguay face Italy in Nice.
It's the first ever test match between France and Uruguay.
France took the lead through Melvin Jimenez's penalty before Uruguay hit back through Nicolas Freitas, who was the beneficiary when Felipe Echevari's crossfield kick was palmed onto his boot by Jimenez before the wing claimed the lost ball and dotted down.
The captain de la Seca, and they're in! It's Felipe Echeverri!
Anthony Hastoy crossed for France before
Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. A very big thank you to everyone who ensured that this bulletin came into fruition. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraro. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.